Hi, just going to give you a video to explain the expected move bands indicator for TradeStation. This is basically an indicator that uses basically prior price history, basically how an oscillator has recorded the prices. So looking at the extremes on the oscillator and then kind of projecting if the average of those extremes was to happen in the future, where the price would have to go to meet that. And so basically you can draw out a band of some bands that the price should remain between, assuming that of course that the price kind of maintains the price movement history, into the future that it's had in the past. So we'll show you the indicator here in just a little bit, but just going to give you the info here. Here's the email and the web page, and if you have any questions or comments, please send me an email. And going to go ahead and look at the legal information here. I would encourage you to pause the video and read through this completely. But basically we're saying everything we do is for educational purposes only, and there's no advice to buy or sell anything. No type of financial advice is being given. This is everything that you do you are fully responsible for, and you should get the help and training from the appropriate professionals before you make any kind of financial decision. So again, this is for educational purposes only, and you should get the help that you need from any professionals that you want before you make any kind of financial decisions. Okay, I've got a TradeStation desktop pulled up here with the workspace that has the indicator in it, and you can basically see here's how it looks in RadarScreen. You can see the long-term top band, the long-term bottom band, short-term top band, short-term top band, short-term bottom band, and then this is the percentage of the time that the closing price has stayed within the short-term bands, and this is the percentage of the time that the price has stayed within the long-term bands. And then this is kind of giving you a status of where it is currently in the band. So if it's a 2, that means that it's closed outside, above, and outside the band. So you can see over here on the chart, you can see right now the IWM, the Russell 2000 ETF, is outside the band, so it's kind of made a bigger than expected move, which obviously can happen sometimes. These bands, like I said, are just projections of price, assuming that the ticker were to kind of maintain its prior history and the range of movement that it's had over the past. But obviously sometimes it breaks outside of the bands. So that's what this is telling you here, and the same thing for the spiders for the S&P 500. You can see it's just outside the let's see, well, it's outside the long-term bands, but it's inside the short-term. If it's outside above either one of the long-term or short-term bands, it's going to show you a 2 over here. Then we look at like Facebook. It says -1, so you can see it's like that's basically saying it's in the lower half of the band channel, and you can see that here. So it's inside of both of the bands, but it's kind of in the lower half of the channel. So, and I'll come back to this, but basically this is sometimes the kind of things that I'm looking for. And you can see Apple, again, Apple's been on a monster move, and of course it's pushed outside of its bands, and so up and away for Apple right now. And let's see, let me find Netflix. You can see it's a 1, so that means it's in the upper half of the channel inside of both of the bands. So here you go. It's right at the top of the bands. And just to let you know, this is kind of maybe interesting here, but this is kind of one of the things. These two columns here are basically what I use in the scanner to kind of look for situations. Basically scan for things that have a high percentage of the time being inside the bands, and then that are near an extreme, or at least in the lower half or the upper half of the band. I guess obviously the market's been in a huge bull market for the past few years, so I typically would scan for things that are kind of in the lower half of the channel, but that have behaved well, maybe 75–80% of the time or greater, that they're inside the channel. So then can kind of use that knowledge to go, well, if they stay in the channel a lot and I'm near the bottom of the channel, maybe this is an opportunity to go long. So like you can see right here, this Netflix kind of hung around the bottom of the channel and then eventually raced up to the top, and then obviously kind of came back, kind of a return to the mean here, and then boom, is off and running again. So now we're kind of in that state. We've kind of been hugging this bottom, the bottom bands, and we finally got down there, and boom, we took off again. So just to kind of let you know kind of the major way that I use it. I was going to go back here to Apple, kind of show you that same thing. You can see, we kind of got down here to the bottom, boom, made a move up, near the bottom, made a move up, got to the bottom of the band, made a move up. So you can kind of see in a bull market, that's usually kind of the pattern that happens. Obviously not all the time, nothing works all the time, but that's kind of the thing that I look for, is, like I say, kind of this, hanging out consolidation near this bottom band, and then, seeing if things line up, if I want to make a trade or not. And let's see, we can show you what else. Oh, just, I don't know, hadn't looked at JP Morgan, but, that one's maybe not as big of a mover, but, 80% of the time it stays in the short-term bands, and 72% of the time the long-term. So again, you get one of these things that starts consolidating down here toward the bottom. Maybe that's something you would want to, take a look at. Obviously, it's kind of good to look historically and see how these things perform. So let's see, and this works for any time frame. I basically use it for the daily, but let's see, we can we'll shift over here to the the weekly just to show you. So again, here's JP Morgan. On the weekly, it kind of, obviously there's a spike down, but in general, it kind of held this bottom band, consolidate and consolidate, comes down, dips, and then finally it took off. So, and then again, kind of came down, nearly touched the bottom and took off. So, like I say, in a bull market, that's how I kind of use it. We've been basically a bull market for several years, so I haven't really been using this to take any shorts, but obviously the same idea would hold if you were, something's trending down, and then it kind of comes up and hangs out around that upper band. Kind of be on the lookout for something that might, take a move down to the bottom of the band. So that's basically what I'm using these for. Let me see. I can show you in this scanner. I'm just going to just turn this back to, I can show you a 60-minute chart if you want. You can see the same thing. Like I say, I mainly use it for daily stuff, but it will work on any time frame. But I haven't really investigated shorter time frames than daily for any of my personal trading, but obviously take a look at it, and maybe there's some useful things you can find for this for your own trading if you trade whatever time frame is your favorite thing to do. So let me see, let me go over here and we'll go look in the scanner just to show you how to set this up. Okay, I've pulled up the sample scan just to show you kind of how I use this. So this is just looking for stocks that are over $20 and then that have a average volume of at least a million shares. I guess personally I like doing some things with options. So I kind of like stocks that are fairly heavily traded, hoping to get a decent spread on the option. So obviously maybe this is meaningful to you or not. You can put whatever criteria in here you want. But I guess the important thing for this is just the expected move band. So I can show you. See, these are the default setups. This is looking back basically 6 months and basically looking back a year to see just how good the duration of the bands that we want to look at. And for this part, we're looking at the EM band. Again, this is the one that tells you the position of the ticker within the bands. It's either a +2 means it's above the bands and outside. A +1 means it's in the upper half. A 0 would mean it's right in the middle. And then a -1 would mean it's in the bottom portion of the band. And then a -2 would mean it's below both of the bands. And you tell the percent, this is the percentage from the band. So this is saying 33% from the upper band or 33% from the bottom band. So basically dividing the bands into 3 regions, the top third, the middle third, and the lower third. And this is telling you if this was going to be in the lower third. So it's looking for things that are in the bottom third of the bands. So that's what this part of the scan is looking for. And then this part, using the same indicator, is going to say we want things that in the short-term bands that have stayed inside the bands at least 75% of the time. So what we're doing here is, and again, the same settings is important to make sure you have the same settings for both instances of this indicator. What we're doing is looking for things that have had a pretty good behavior with respect to staying inside the bands, and then they're near the bottom of the band, with the idea that we can find something that's in an uptrend, it's pulled back a little bit, and now is potentially ready to go higher again, and then finding those kind of stocks. So that's pretty much it. So I'll run this, pause it, and show you what we found in the scan, and then we'll go look at it on the chart so you can kind of see how these things correlate. Okay, you can see here's the result of the scan. This is just for like the S&P 500 stocks, and I think the Dow stocks or something like that, so a subset of stocks. But you can see this was run on the September 4th, 2018 in the morning before the market opened, and here's the list. So I don't know, let's see, we'll pick out a few. What's something? Oh, well, we'll look at Boeing. Let's do that. We'll go look at Boeing. Okay, you can see, remember Boeing was one of the stocks that was picked out in the scan, saying it was in the lower third of the bands, and it had a good behavior. And so let's see. So here we are with Boeing. You can see again, it's confirmed over here, -1. We're in the lower 33% of the band. So kind of if it's the closing value, so it's the close was within the lower third of the band. So you can see, yeah, Boeing, looks like it's obviously kind of in a big consolidation pattern here. I don't know, maybe, what is that? Maybe some kind of a triangle or a wedge or something. So you can see it's coming down. I mean, me personally, I would probably hold off on this. It seems like, maybe we're still trending down. Might look at a few different other indicators, oscillators, I don't know, and just see when there might be a good entry. But you can see Boeing has been pretty well behaved. It's come down to this bottom area and it's gone up to the top, did it again, gone up to the top, came down here, went up a little bit, almost got to the top. So as you can see, we're kind of compressing in here. So I don't know if we're getting ready for a big move or who knows what, but just based on the prior history and where it is in these bands, maybe Boeing would be something of interest to you to consider for some type of action. So like I say, that's pretty much how the indicator works, and kind of in general how I use it. So there's a free trial period, so please sign up, take a look at it. If you have some questions, send me an email. If you got any suggestions, ways to make it better, different things to look at, I'll certainly consider that. And I hope this is something useful for you, and hope it helps you with your trading and investing. So thanks for watching.